All right, I'm making this video for all the new SDRs out there and for anyone in general trying to improve their cold calling. These are the 3 key pillars I have found to make a successful cold call. This is coming from someone who's made thousands of cold calls myself. I've been in enterprise software sales for 5 years. I've coached SDRs as an SDR manager. I've coached hundreds of SDRs. And these are the 3 key things I've consistently found work to improve people's cold calling ability. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down what each of these 3 are and how you can immediately implement them in your own cold calls. So let's get into it. All right, so the first key pillar is going to be maintaining an assumptive frame throughout the entire cold call. So I'm going to start off with a quick analogy here. Let's say there's 2 students in a math class and a problem gets put on the board. And the first student raises their hand and says, the answer is 5. And the second student raises their hand and says, the answer is 5. Both said the exact same thing. They gave the same answer, but who sounds more confident? Who sounds smarter? Who are you more confident has the right answer? It's probably student number 2 because they used a downward inflecting tone. And I'm not a psychologist, but this is just common sense to me. When you speak matter-of-factly, there's a whole bunch of second-order consequences that people might subconsciously believe about you. You sound more confident, you sound more capable, you sound like you've been here and done this before. So you want to be using that on your cold calls. A good example of where this comes into play is when it comes time to ask for the meeting or ask for the prospect's time on their calendar going forward. Here's what a downward inflecting tone sounds like. Great, I'm looking to set up some time next week just to get introduced and aligned on this going forward. Are you free on Wednesday or Thursday? That had a very downward inflecting tone. They would have to really break my assumption in order to tell me no. The path of least resistance is for them to say yes. Otherwise, because of my tone, they would have to object and be prepared to have a back and forth. So what a lot of people do instead is they either use a passive tone or they use passive language. So instead of using that example I just did, they'll say something like, great, I'd love to set up some time next week if possible. Are you free on Wednesday or Thursday next week? And it has that upward inflecting tone and you use words like, if possible, I'd love to, are you free? So you want to avoid all passive language and all passive tonalities and replace it with stronger, more assumptive language like, I'm looking to set up some time. Let's set up some time next week. Are you free on Wednesday or Thursday? These are very, very small tweaks that can dramatically improve your results, and it's one of the first areas I look for when coaching a new SDR. So pay attention to these examples in your own day-to-day. Catch yourself when you're using passive language or when you have that upward inflecting tone. You want to have that more downward inflecting tone. Really speak confidently and assumptively and make them break your assumption. Make the path of least resistance for them to say yes. All right, the second key pillar might be my favorite because it sounds so obvious, but most people don't do it, especially new SDRs, and that's making the ask. You can't book the meeting if you don't ask for time on their calendar. What a lot of reps do is they love to have these 5-minute, 10-minute calls where they're going back and forth and they're chit-chatting and the prospect's in a good mood and they think this call's going really well. And then at the end, the prospect says, oh, I gotta go. You can just shoot me an email and I'll get back to you. And you never even asked like, hey, are you free next week for a 15 to 20-minute meeting? You are not on the playing field. You need to get yourself on the playing field by asking for their time. Otherwise, you have not even stepped on the field. You have a 0% chance of booking the meeting if you don't ask for time on their calendar. I'm not gonna hit you with the cheesy, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I kind of just did, but that's what it is right here. You have to ask for time on their calendar. If you don't, it doesn't matter how good the call felt or how long the call went. If you don't actually ask for time on their calendar, you don't have a chance of booking the meeting. So your cold call script could be god awful. You could stumble your way through, but if you at least ask, hey, are you free next week? Your chances of booking the meeting are non-zero. And that's a game changer that people don't realize. You've literally increased your chances by an infinite percentage by going from a 0% to a non-0% just by asking for time on their calendar. So the way to do that is to get straight to the point on your cold call and make your intent clear. A lot of reps like to dilly-daddle. They like to ask a bunch of questions. They say, hey, I'm so-and-so from X company. we support companies with these processes. What are you currently using? How's that going for you? Do you have any initiatives in the near future? And 5-10 minutes in, the prospect's starting to get a little exhausted because they have their own day responsibilities as well. And they're like, what are we even doing here? And they either hang up or they abruptly end the call, and you never even said, hey, by the way, I'm actually looking to set some time next week or maybe later this month. Are you available on X date? You need to make your intent clear. So it should be a huge sigh of relief that you don't need to sell your company's value proposition or sell them on your solution on an off-the-cuff cold call. What you're here to do is sell time. You're saying you want to give off just enough value that it's worth 15, 20, 30 minutes of their time at a later date to discuss this further. So you want to make clear out of the gate, ideally within the first 30 to 60 seconds of the call, that your intent here is to actually set time at a later date, not to have a long conversation. Basically give them an out, give them an option. It's a sign of respect. You're basically saying, hey, I get it, you're busy. I just called you out of the blue in the middle of your workday. You probably have a million things going on. I'm actually looking to set aside some time at a later date, not to have a 20-minute discussion with you right now. And what I'm not saying is you can't engage with them. Sometimes you do get these prospects who want to engage back with you, in which case it's okay to have a back and forth and get some more information that's going to help the discovery call that you set up. You just want to be constantly giving them that option. Like every 1 to 2 minutes, I'll be saying like, hey, by the way, like I was actually looking to more set some time at a later date. I know you're probably busy right now. Are you free on X date? Because I would rather be having this initial discussion on a discovery call when we have agreed upon time set aside anyway. I have a better chance at making a good first impression about my solution or my company there than on an off-the-cuff cold call. So you're not trying to push them off the phone, but you want to be giving them that option of, hey, we can do this at a later date. It's okay. We don't have to have a 15-minute call right now. All right, the third and final pillar is to have a repeatable script and a repeatable structure to use because it's going to help you scale and move more efficiently. So what I mean by this is you shouldn't have to, every time you make a cold call, and this honestly applies to emailing too, you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. If you sell financial software and you call someone in a finance department at company X, your script should be transferable if you call a different finance person at company Y. You shouldn't have to sit down and spend 30 minutes coming up and preparing for that next cold call because that's going to slow you down, and burn you out, and you're not going to be working efficiently. So you want a script that you can keep 80% the same. In that finance example, I'm going to be telling them who I am and then be telling them I support companies when it comes to processes related to planning, budgeting, forecasting. Those are kind of generic examples, but that would be relevant to whoever I'm calling, to most finance departments. And maybe as I'm calling them, I can be searching them on LinkedIn and maybe see if there's a little snippet of value that I could include that would add value to my cold call. But otherwise, you want to create a script that is repeatable, has a similar structure so that you can move fast. There's always a time and place when you want to spend the little extra effort. If you know you have a really good target account where your solution is a really good fit and maybe you're about to call a C-suite executive, yeah, you might only get one chance, so you want to get that right. But then you have separate times where you're more there to get your interactions out, whether it's 50 or 100 calls a day. You can't be spending 10, 20 minutes in between cold calls prepping for each one. You want a script that's transferable, that you can move fast and bang out those calls. And the easiest way to do that, I have found, is what I call the 3W formula. You need to answer 3 questions, ideally within the first 30 to 45 seconds. And it is who you are, why you're calling, what you want. Because there's 3 things a prospect is wondering when they answer the phone and they realize you're someone they don't know, you're not a number they have in their phone. They are wondering, who are you? Why are you calling me? And what do you want from me? If you can answer those 3 questions with an assumptive frame where you make the ask, because that's ultimately what the what is time on their calendar, that's how you're going to answer those key questions in their head. It's subconscious, but those are the 3 things they need satisfied in order to take you seriously and in order for them to drop that defensive tone. Because now the ball's in their court. They can either say yes or no. So you tell them who you are, which can change depending on where you work or what you're selling. You can change the way you describe yourself. The why is the value you put out, like how you can actually help them. And then the what is time on their calendar. It's, hey, and I'm looking to actually set some time next week. Are you available on either Wednesday or Thursday? So who, why, what. It's the easiest way to break it down. Create a script that's 80% or it's mostly transferable, that you can use for every single cold call and not have to put that much work into each individual call that you make. So those are the 3 key pillars. These 3 things really changed my cold call success, and I've seen it work for countless reps. So give these a try. Come back to this video if you need. Let me know how it goes, and I'll see you on the next one.